the Texas Department of Agriculture has a new dress code. And of course, it's aimed at going after trans people. Because, of course. Texas Observer, digital editor, and genderqueer journalist Kit O'Connell recently obtained an April 13th dress code and grooming memo to agency employees from the Texas Department of Agriculture. As Commissioner Sid Miller. Sid Miller happens to have been an advisor for the campaign, or no, not for the campaign, but for former President Donald Trump. So, unsurprising. The memo states, quote, employees are expected to comply with this dress code in a manner consistent with their biological gender, which that's not actually a thing. That conflates sex and gender. Is there biological sex? Yes. There's no such thing as biological gender. Gender is just expression. Really. These people are stupid. Now, funny enough, apparently part of what they consider to be biological gender is Western. Western apparel apparently is acceptable attire for women. However, it must have no excessive cleavage. What do you consider to be excessive?
Sexual anarchy.
Texas. Come on. And can be, and skirts should be within 4 inches of the knees. Again, this is for a government job for adults. So you got this weird kind of dress code for state workers that's very discriminatory. I'll give you more. Grooming standards include no unnatural, neon, or fluorescent hair colors, and no nose, lip, or other facial piercings. Sorry, all you
pink-haired communists.
You gotta go and change. You can't look like that. In fact, violators will be sent home to change. Repeat offenders could face further sanction and termination. Wait, Texas, what happened to freedom? Doesn't sound like freedom to me. Now, O'Connell notes that even cisgender people who wear gender-neutral clothing, such as cis women who favor men's formal wear, and there are plenty who do, slacks, the dreaded pantsuit that triggers conservative brains and makes them implode, could conceivably caught up in the new restrictions. You know why? Because here's the thing. All these anti-trans, I've noticed something. I'm sure you've noticed it as well. All of this anti-trans legislation always ends up having a splashback against cisgendered women. I mean, you have all these weirdo transvestigators that come out and, harass cisgendered women because they look a little too masculine. I mean, there's always the splashback. So, look, trans misogyny is just plain old misogyny. And that's what it is. Simple as that. And yet, there are cisgender women, unfortunately, who have fallen in to attacking the transgender community when they're also being victimized by the same people and the same laws being passed against the transgender community. It really is incredibly frustrating and sad to see. So, but basically, yeah, cisgender women will have to wear skirts and dresses, even if they don't want to. Violators will be sent home. Apparently, what happened to freedom? What happened to freedom? There's no freedom. These people just want to control the way people act and dress and who they marry and all that stuff. And again, it's okay to have rules, against, for example, inappropriate stuff. If you do have, stuff that maybe doesn't cover everything that should be covered, but this is not that. This is not rules preventing that. This is rules specifically targeted towards attacking Gen Z, millennial, and transgender people overall. People who might actually want to express themselves with a different hair color. Maybe who want to express themselves with different kinds of dress. Or maybe just find, men's slacks more comfortable than wearing skirts and dresses. Clearly, though, it's violating a freedom in order to own the trans people because, well, they despise them. Now, O'Connell also writes, the policy, which is primarily aimed at office workers, will force trans employees back into the closet by forbidding them from expressing their identity. Exactly. So now, here's the thing about this. Turns out this might actually be a violation of the First Amendment. Because Texas, number one at violating people's rights under the Constitution. Oops. This is Brian Klosterbor, who's an attorney for the ACLU of Texas. He told the Texas Tribune that the dress violates the First Amendment's right to free expression and the Equal Protection Clause, as well as Title VII's prohibition of employment discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity. 100%. He said state agencies should be focused on doing their jobs and not discriminating against their own employees and trying to make political statements through their agency regulations. There is no important governmental interest that this can meet. Well, that's the thing, though. It's not a governmental interest. It's a political interest. And that's what Abbott's about. That's what these Republicans in Texas, that's what they care about. It's all political correctness. It's all a way to push and continue the culture wars, which help them retain power. They're not interested in doing the people's business. If they were, maybe they'd actually regulate the energy industry, so that you don't have people dying in a freak ice storm because there's not enough power, because they can't afford power. Or because Texas hasn't fixed their aging electric grid. How about you focus on that? Still has not been fixed. Still all the other issues in Texas, and yet they're focused on this. They're focused on owning the
pink-haired communist
and preventing them from working for the state? Having free expression? This is what they're focused on. This is their ideology. This is what they believe in. Controlling people's lives, controlling what they do, controlling how they dress, controlling who they marry, controlling what kind of expression they have. Even their hair color. Do you understand that? The party of so-called freedom is actually the party of authoritarianism. They want to control you and your life. If you dare be any different than what they believe you should be, which of course is traditional, patriarchal, right-wing conservative gender roles. Look, I don't care if you want to live that way in your own personal life. I don't give a damn. If you want to be stay at home, right-wing conservative mom, 6 kids, whatever. I don't care. Do what makes you happy. If that makes you happy, God bless. Enjoy your life. Live your life. But for fuck's sake, stop trying to control everybody else's life. Stop it. There's no need of that. Why don't you just leave us all the fuck alone?